What's up, my friends? J Salaam, aka Brother Jabril, here with my friends today, Mr. Stan Zeff, celebrating 15 years of Tambour.
That's right.
Yeah. So we're having our discussion today about Tambour. We're just going to take a deep dive into what your inspirations are for the event. You know, all the thought process, the creativity, everything involving that. So
right.
I'm looking forward to diving into this with you, man.
Me too. I'm excited about this.
Yeah,
It gives me a chance to talk about it.
Yeah.
Haven't really had a chance to. So.
When someone asks you what Tambour is as an event, what is it? How did you describe this?
I think more than anything, Tambour is an experience. It's an experience of dance. It's an experience of music. It's an experience of healing, and I try and create an experience where people can come and make it whatever they want to make it, if that makes sense. Yeah. So some people might go just for music. Some people might go for a workout. Some people might go to meet someone. Someone might go for culture, community. And some people might go for spirit. So I create a space, a safe space where people can experience whatever they're going through at that time in their life.
I think when you mention healing, there are more and more people who are doing parties like this that go beyond just like your average nightclub kind of boozing and drugs and things like that. I like that you're looking at this as like really curating an experience for people for healing. I have a friend who has an event as well who his whole tagline behind his music is movement-based healing, which is pretty neat.
Right.
So the term "it takes a village" usually refers to like family, right? And I think you consider the people who are part of your organization, so to speak, family. Who is it that comprises the family, the village of Tambour that kind of works behind the scenes with you that you want to recognize?
Well, primarily is Jackie, my wife, right? We're really spearheading this whole Tambour movement as such, right? But if I turn the dial back to day one, I can see that I've worked with different people along the way, and they say people are with you for a reason and a season, and I've definitely experienced that. Back in the early days, from day one, I used to work with Robbie Randall. He was pretty much my partner, business partner, and he handled the logistics, and I handled the creativity, and we worked together up to probably about, I would say, Tambour's 7th year anniversary. 7 years strong, and there was also DJ B. He was the other DJ involved in Tambour, and he always opened up the night, and he was with Tambour for a few years more than Robbie. But people go on and do other things, and I totally understand that, but as the Tambor Party evolves, it just, it's like it's a mind of its own, really. So it just grabs other people in who can take it to another level or in a different direction or a different way, So Tambour is definitely of the village, and it pulls people in, and and when they've when it's time for them to move on, it's time for them to move on. I'm just fortunate enough that it's kept me all this time.
Yeah. So you talk about healing and you and I have been friends for a while now,
Mm-hmm.
and you talk a lot about spirituality in music.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you in the context of a dance music event? You know, would ostensibly a lot of people would just see it's like a house music event where people are dancing and, you know, regular club type of thing. What is it that how does spirituality plug into what you're doing?
Well, music is spiritual. How I define spirituality is something that um, you can feel it, you can hear it, but you can't see it. Okay, and that's spirituality. And it's the same with music. When you go in, when you go into a venue and you want to feel the music, you hear the music, you feel it. Okay, that's spirituality. Okay, and then it's how does the DJ, who is a musician, by the way, I don't necessarily call myself a DJ. I say I play music. It's like some people might play the guitar or play the trumpet or play the drums. I play music, you know? So when someone goes into a venue and it's curated, the DJ or the person who's playing the music curates the music in such a way and they select tonal rhythms, then that affects the people who are in the party and are dancing to the party, and it allows them to pretty much lose themselves and allow the spirit of the music or the spirit of their ancestors or the spirit that's around in the room to engulf them and take them somewhere, you know, that can, in most cases, heal them, you know, just take them to a place where they can release all the anxiety that's inside of them, and they don't care about how they're dancing or how they're dressed or who's next to them. Release trauma. You know, a lot of people go through trauma as young kids, you know, and music is one of these things that releases, just opens up portholes and vessels within the body, and they can just like open their chest and like release trauma, you know, and that's such a freeing moment for people. And as a person who plays music, you know, you're up there and you're seeing pretty much everyone, you know, and I can pinpoint different people and I can see what's going on for them, because then different colors start sparking up in the room, you know. You see different colors from different people and you can see how they're releasing.
Nice.
Yeah.
You follow a spirituality known as Yoruba or Ife, correct?
Ifa.
Ifa.
Yeah.
How does that kind of how do you plug that into your music spirituality? Is that an extension of Ifa, or is it something completely different?
That's a really good question. I think, well, when I go back to when I really started getting into music, I have always been totally obsessed with percussive music. Yeah, organic drums, and you know, just shakers, shakeres, and cow horns and things like that, cowbells, sorry. And you know, I've just been obsessed with those things. And I remember just going and seeing Rastafarian drum circles, you know, and seeing them beating the drums, and everyone's in a certain rhythm, and people are playing between rhythms and between what I call between the tick and the tock. Okay. And I just used to be so obsessed with that. So I've always have been gravitated towards percussive music, African music, tribal music. And when I was introduced to Yoruba, the Orishas, their music is totally percussion based, totally drum. They use 3 drums in ceremony called the bata drums. Okay, so you got the deep one, the middle sized one, and the high one, and they play together, and they play different rhythms for each Orisha, and each Orisha represents a different part of nature. So you might have Obatala, which represents the mountains, and Yemaya, which represents the oceans, and Ochun is the rivers. And so you have different rhythms that the bata drummers play to bring down the spirit of nature itself. Not necessarily the Orisha, but the Orisha represents nature, okay? And quite often when you're in a drum ceremony, and I went to the drum ceremonies in Cuba, they're called tambours, okay? And so that's where I was like, oh wow, there's really a lot more to this music and the sound than I ever imagined. So when I was in ceremony and I was being initiated as a priest, part of the ceremony is when you're given a reading, a lifetime reading. It's called an ita. And in that reading, I was told that music is in me and I have to do more with music. And I was like, man, I'm in corporate America. I'm earning nice money. I'm just like, and it didn't make sense at the time. And it came up a few times in the reading and I didn't hear it as I should have heard it until a few years later when I was listening to the recording of the reading, and I was like, wow, this is what they're saying, that I should be in music. And at that time I was becoming more and more gravitated towards playing music and creating spiritual experiences with music as well. So it was all, for me, to answer your question, all intertwined, being in Orisha and having music as well. I feel that with Orisha, it took me to another level in music. Because I remember flying back from Cuba back to Atlanta, and I was reading this book on Ifa, and I opened the book, and the first word on the page was Tambour. And I was like, that's what I'm going to call the party, Tambour. So I think I certainly believe that the spirit of the Orishas guided me to do what I do now.
In Ifa, Orishas are the intermediary between the great
God or Oludumare.
Oludumare.
Yeah, yeah.
So the Orishas, there's many of them, right?
Right.
But there are some that you focus on when you're doing, when you focus on whenever you're doing your events, or as well as just presenting music as a producer, correct?
I would say that everyone has an Orisha over them, right? There are 401 Orishas. 200 are good, 200 are bad, and there's one that lives in the middle, which is called Eshu, okay, or Elogua, okay? And then you have the 8 main Orishas, okay? And that's why you might hear the term sometimes called Ocha, okay? Because it means 8, okay? So, and most people fall under one of those 8 Orishas. Like my head is Obatala, okay? You might be Shango or Elogua or whoever. You know what I'm saying? So everyone kind of falls under that. So when I'm DJing and I'm playing music, I don't necessarily think that I'm going to concentrate on a specific Orisha. I just let spirit just move me as I need to move. I just, it could be, because my head is Obatala, I might be playing more slow, rhythmic, heavy bassline beats, but sometimes I might be playing something fast and quick. Sometimes I might be playing something sexy, which is more in tune with Ochun, Sometimes I might be playing something crashy like Yamaya. So it all depends on how spirit shows up for me, and what I gravitate towards, but I always try and leave myself open to allow spirit to guide me in my musical journey when I'm playing.
I think that's really special because, a lot of times it's just about Well, I mean, when I first started throwing parties, it was about meeting girls.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And just playing cool music
Right.
and meeting girls. That was it.
Right.
Don't tell my wife.
But I think it's important in this day and time to have a statement in music. I think that a lot of people have or play music for ego's sake.
Right.
Oh, I want to wear this outfit, or I want to wear my hair like this, or I want to be in front of 10,000 people, or I want to, and that's what they want to do. But music is so important for our lives that I think it's important that people have a statement of why you're playing music. It's like someone who plays the clarinet, or someone plays the trumpet like Miles Davis. He had a statement. He truly believed in the spirituality behind the music he was playing. And he trained his what he called his chops, but his neck, and his lungs and whatever, to play the music the way it needed to be played. He had a statement. And I think that's what's missing in a lot of music and people who DJ today, that there's no statement, there's no purpose. It's all about being up there and, I want the main set, I want to close the night, and I want to do this and I want to do that, but there's more to it.
That's pretty intense, man.
Yeah.
That's special. I like that a lot. Who do you think nurtured this the most in you? Whether it was like young Stan Zeff,
right?
Who do you think? It could be a community, it could be a person. Who do you think nurtured that level of creativity and spirituality in you?
It's hard to say. I think what we used to say, as a youth growing up in London, I was obsessed with reggae sound systems and how the DJ would have one turntable and play for 10, 12 hours on one turntable, and not be, with two turntables or three turntables. With DJs today, they'll be like playing that. Oh, no, I'm not going to play that. Let me put that back, and let me play another one. And so they're going through tracks while one's playing, so they can get the perfect track to follow up with what's being played at the moment. But the DJs back in those days, they played with one, they knew their music, right? And they manipulated the music in such a way that the people could really feel it. So they'll be dropping out the bass and bringing in an echo and really ringing that echo, and just leave the highs on and ringing and ringing and ringing. And then they'll bring the mids and the bass back in, and everyone's just going crazy and it's like going wild. And, I used to be obsessed with how they played the music and how they controlled the crowd, and I just used to go to parties, and I used to just sit there and watch the DJs and how they manipulated the music and controlled the crowd and took the crowd from one place to another spiritually and brought them back down again. It was people would be in houses, where they've turned into clubs for the night, and they'll be in there for 10, 12, 14 hours, listening to music. So that was my first inspiration. And then moving more into house music. At first, I really didn't see that kind of music playing until, I started listening to people like Timmy Regisford, Joe Claussell, that really had more of a spiritual hold on the music and took the people somewhere, and they weren't just playing it.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
How does your family plug into your musical journey? How did they nurture?
Yeah, my family are on, I'm not sure whose side it is, but my older brothers have been musical, and they were the musical influence for me. I told you the story about the bedroom. We all grew up in a bedroom, and we all, there was like musical instruments in there, speakers, records, beds and wardrobes. You know, everything was just packed in this room with 4 boys, you know, just playing music 24/7. And as my older brothers got older and moved out, there was just more space, you know, and eventually, you know, my younger brother, he got his own room and I got my own room. And I just kept buying music, buying records, buying speakers and stuff like that. And just playing music all day. Like I had a 9 to 5, but when I got home, 6, 7 o'clock, I might be playing records till about midnight, past midnight. And all weekend, I'll just be playing records, you know, just going to the record store, come home and playing music and just mixing and stuff like that. And playing it loud.
I think most people would agree with me that like playing records till midnight was a no-go in most people's houses.
And that's what I was going to say, because you were saying, how did my family deal with it?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I've got to be really grateful to my parents because, you know, they were like, they weren't telling me to shut that blinking music off or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? They were fairly cool, you know? Sometimes I played it really loud and then you got people from across the street complaining and stuff like that. But, you know, I think my parents were really, really cool and understanding of, you know, how loud I used to play it and how often I used to play music. And I remember one time I was playing music really loud and I was just totally into playing the music. And my dad was shouting at the top of his head, turn that music down, turn that music down. And eventually I heard him. But, you know, that was the only time I think my dad told me to turn the music down. Because it was always playing.
Yeah, it sounds like your musical journey was always nurtured even by your family.
Right. Yeah.
That's special.
Yeah. And my mum always wanted us to learn an instrument. So at an early age, I learned piano. We had a tutor come to the house a couple of days a week to teach all the kids how to play piano. Yeah.
You played one other instrument though, right?
Trumpet.
Trumpet, that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
Was that like a school band thing?
That was a school band.
Oh, okay.
thing.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were a band nerd.
Right. And Boys Brigade, I had a bugle, you know,
Right.
so.
How about your spirituality? What about your spiritual side? Who kind of nurtured that in you? Was it a self-actualization or were there people that were involved in like helping with your transition into Ifa?
I think initially, I'm quite an intuitive person, naturally. And also I'm an introvert. So for me to navigate in the world, even as a young kid, was very difficult. So I spent a lot of time by myself. And music was a way of me dealing with how I show up in the world. You know, I could hide behind my music. I could just play music and I'm having a conversation with music, you know, instead of having conversations with lots of friends and stuff like that. I didn't really have that because of my because of me being an introvert, you know, and not really understanding the world, you know. So that kind of stemmed from my spirituality because from there I tapped into myself a lot, you know, and I was like, hey, there's more going on in here, you know. I wonder if everyone else feels this. And so for years and years, I thought that everyone had the same kind of inner feelings that I had, you know, only to find out that a lot of people didn't, you know. So, you know, I think coming into the Orisha, I met someone who became my godfather, who took me to Cuba and taught me a lot of how to do ceremonies, how to do readings. And so I was very much involved with that. The early 2000s, I was very much involved with Ifa or Orisha, learning how to do all the ceremonies, you know, literally. So my godfather was a big influence on me in that regards. But I was always there in terms of spirituality within myself, and knowing that there was more to me, and coming into this culture of Orisha, it just clarified a lot for me what was going on, especially with my early readings and telling me what, what's going on for me in myself, inside myself. And, it's just a lot of answers. And so just being in that culture just opened up my life so much. But then again, just like you said with the village, and I was talking about, different stages and different seasons and things like that, I'm still in Orisha. I'm very active in Orisha and Ifa. But then I was introduced to plant medicine. And plant medicine was another level of spirituality that I embraced that took me to another place, right. And I truly feel that it was Ifa that led me to plant medicine. Right. Yeah.
I think just a layman's understanding of Ifa, of living the good life or dying a good death, or living a true, I want to stop short of saying authentic, right. Being authentically you, but it's not so much a heaven and hell thing.
No.
It's more of like, just live a righteous life.
Yeah, I mean, your heaven and hell is the situation that you're in right now, right. And if everyone has a purpose in life, and the problem is not many people know what their purpose in life is and what they're supposed to be doing in life. And so it results in people becoming very depressed, becoming down, being disappointed with their progress in life. They're making bad decisions, going in relationships that don't work, jobs that don't work. They don't make enough money. They always think bad luck is following them, right. And so when you're introduced to something like Ifa says, you're going down the wrong road, okay? This is what you need to do to get back on the right road of life, And it's down to you to make those changes in your life, so that you can steer back onto the right path and make yourself feel at home in your body and the direction that you're going in.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Don't be trying to convert me.
You're converted.
Afro House is your main
right.
focus for Tambour and your production.
Correct? Right. Mm-hmm.
I like to kind of do an out of the box kind of thinking of like, if you were to reshape the sound or what you would call Afro House, would you, because I know you think of things a lot deeper than some people are, like just take it at surface level. Mm-hmm. Would you call it something else other than Afro House?
Well, when people ask me what I play, I tend to say, off the top of my head, African influenced dance music. Yeah. I heard someone say African electronic music, but I think African influenced dance music gives it a more of a wide catchment area. Instead of saying world music, I would say African influenced dance music, because it just widens the net and it intrigues more people. When you say house music to some people, they think, this and that, drugs and whatever.
Dead mouse.
Right. Yeah. And but if you say African dance music or world music, then is the net is so wide, you catch so many people, and so many people like the music without having you don't have to attach the words Afro House to it. They naturally will gravitate towards it.
Yeah, I like to think of the sound that I play as soulful dance music.
Right.
I don't
right.
ever call it just soulful house because
Right.
it's not always that.
Right. Exactly.
Anything that kind
Right.
of has that African influence, or African American, Afro, anything influence, I'm going to play it.
Right.
And it's all soulful to me because
Right.
that music comes from our soul, as
Exactly.
people would call it, right?
Exactly.
So I got to give credit to Kemet for this question. I asked. I don't know if you remember. I sent a text message to all my DJ friends. What would you ask? Like a really seasoned. Because I was really looking forward to having this conversation with you. And he gave me this great question because I know you and I have talked about it, but I think that you should tell people about this. Do you have a particular time of day that you feel is like an opportune moment to be the most creative, like the most? Do you have a moment, or is there a particular time of day that you feel like you could be the most creative? Or
definitely, I'm very much a morning person, as you know, right?
Yeah.
So 4 a.m. is usually my time when I'll get up and hit the gym and come back home, meditate, pray, spend time with ancestors. I'm giving you the full rundown now, and write. Sometimes I'll journal in the mornings as well. My mornings are very full, and then for a couple of hours, 90 minutes or something, I might do work solidly on Tambour. So I'll just like, okay, what do I need to do? What direction is this brand going in, and how do I want to get it there, and what is it that I need to do in this 90 minutes to shut everything off, and just concentrate on Tambour for 90 minutes. Okay, and I pretty much do that like 5-6 days a week, and then after that, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. No, it's a bit later, but I'll go in the studio. I go in the studio and I'll do the same. I was like, okay, what do I want to work on? For 2 hours, no interruptions, just this. And then just work in the studio, and then after that, answer emails or something like that. But by midday, 1 o'clock, something like that, I'm done for the day. Yeah.
Midday?
Yeah, 1 o'clock. Sometimes 2, depending on how long.
Lucky. Midday,
I'll be done for the day.
Deep in it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a book written, I can't remember, I remember the guy's name, but I can't pronounce it. He wrote a book called Flow. And it talks about these moments where
when you're in the flow state.
You're in a flow state where when you're working on something creatively, time just seems irrelevant.
Right, exactly.
And when you come out of that flow state, you're like, it's 3 hours later.
Right.
Like, what have I been doing with my life?
Right.
But
Yeah.
you've been being creative. Do you ever have those moments?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, especially when I'm in the studio or when I'm playing music, time just goes like that, and I try not to look at the clock at all, because then that brings me back into real time. Right. I always think of, when we look at time today, we've lost the concept of tick and tock, because everything's digital, right? We've got digital watches. And even if you've got an analog type watch, there's a sweeping arm. It's not stopping on the tick and tock, right? And if you think about it, our parents and grandparents' home, they always had this clock going tick.
Every Hispanic home I know,
right?
Like,
yeah,
and
and West Indian home, and everyone had that clock, right? But we don't have that concept of time anymore, because there's a space between the tick and the tock. There's a rest, and we don't have that anymore. We're not resting. We're constantly doing. We have to do this and we have to do that. So I try and schedule my day where I leave time for rest, and I leave time for work, and I have time to eat or socialize or whatever, because it's really important to bring that's why people today say that time moves so fast. And you go, oh man, can you believe it's Friday already? What happened? It was Monday yesterday. It's because we're not resting in between the tick and the tock. You know, we're just moving all the time, you know, because we're seeing our digital watches are going all the time. So there's no time for us to rest.
Yeah. Cool.
I didn't say that story about.
No, you didn't. I want to hear that.
Right.
I was just going to try and figure out a way to get back to the your story, your first story of success.
Right. I don't know. I've always wanted to do parties, and I always wanted to put on events. I don't know why. I think my older brother, he used to do parties. He used to have a sound system called Funk Sphere. And so when I was 15, I went to the local community center, and I asked him if I could rent it out. I think it was a Friday night. No, it was a Saturday. And they said, sure, £60. And I thought, okay, this is it. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna really do something big here. Great. So I designed the flyers, and I don't know how I got them photocopied. I can't remember how I got them photocopied, Xeroxed or whatever, right? Yeah. But I sold tickets in the playground, right, on lunchtime and break times. So it was like 50 pence a ticket. So I got a couple of other guys to help me DJ. A guy who lived around the corner, he had a van. So we got the speakers. I'd made a couple of speakers, and I borrowed my brother's speakers, and he had these big valve amplifiers, right? They were like about this long and that high, and they were massive, right? And he had he had about 3 of them. So we had to switch them on, let them warm up, and we had a pretty good crowd, you know? I mean, It was about 30, 40 people there or whatever. You know, I don't know if I made money or not, but that's when I knew that this thing is a bit harder than I actually thought it would be, you know? But yeah, and since then I've just had the bug, and I've always been putting on events and, you know, doing stuff.
I remember you said you thought you had made it.
I thought I'd made it, man. Yeah.
Who'd have known that it would take several decades, a couple decades later, you know, to get to that point. So the scale, what's the scale of difference between doing Tambour, the event? I mean, it seems like a dumb question. I mean, it's got to be massive.
Right.
From doing that to doing something like a trip on the Nile.
Oh, right.
Or you know, a cruise. What are the main fundamental differences between those two?
Planning.
Yeah.
It's really planning. I think just having done Tambour monthly for so many years, it kind of groomed me for doing the cruises, right? Because I just thought, this is just like a party over 4 days, right? That's what I initially thought, but all the interaction with people and selling cabins and understanding the whole business structure around Royal Caribbean and selling cabins, and then setting up or curating events over 4 days or 5 days for people, morning parties, evening parties, who's going to play, at what time, how are you going to set the DJs up, who's available, who you're going to book, and all this, and the artwork and the promo and all this kind of stuff. So it was really a Tambor Party on steroids, I think one of the most trying experiences that I had when I first did the cruise was you couldn't just, because we had our own equipment. We weren't using equipment on the ship. So this guy I know, Dave Solero from Miami, he had 21-inch speakers, CDJs, everything. He had a full sound system, and we were taking that on the ship, right? Come to find out, a couple of days before we were going on the ship, that we needed to have everything itemized and go through a customs check before we could actually go on the ship, right? Then this had to be done like 5 o'clock in the morning, right? And we always had pre-parties. So the night before we went on the ship, we were having a party somewhere in Miami, right? Electric Pickle, we used to do it. You know, the parties were finishing at 3, 4 in the morning. So you finish the party, right? And then you're going straight to customs with the equipment. And you're just sitting outside the customs for the officer to come down. You're just like sleeping in the car. And then someone's knocking on the window. Okay, where's your equipment? Right? And then he just goes and he just like looks in there and he is ticking everything off. And then we had to take it to the ship. And then it was like, oh, you can't just bring the equipment like that. It needs to be shrink wrapped. So we had to get shrink wrap it around all the pallets of equipment, put labels on it for the Tambor cruise, and then put it on the ship. And that was before anything actually started. So
that's a hard lesson to learn.
Right. That was crazy. Yeah. That was really crazy.
You never made that mistake again.
No. and then you know, the Nile was another, you know, just taking people the other side of the world, you know, and dealing with logistics with people the other side of the world. And you're like, well, this person seems cool, so I hope everything's going to work out, you know, and just having multiple trips before doing the actual event, you know, putting everything in place, building relationships. You know, Jackie did a really good job just like keeping in touch with all the people over there. You know, thankfully we didn't have to take equipment over there, but we, you know, we got set up with different PA companies that put equipment on the ship for us, put equipment at the hotels and all the parties we did. We, you know, everywhere we went, everything was set up for us, which made it a lot easier than Royal Caribbean, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. But it was still very difficult to keep everything in line and organized and stuff like that. You know, I wish I could say that Tambour over the 15 years has been all about fast cars, drugs and women and all this kind of stuff, but it's really been a labor of love.
Right.
You know, it's been hard work, but very much worth it.
Honestly, I think that most people would be like, why even bother? But I understand more clearly because you want to give people the opportunity to have an experience, right? That's what we talked about in the beginning of this conversation. I mean, that's how you create experiences for people. Yeah. Take them across the Nile and like...
Right, yeah. And there's something about playing music and dancing on water where the energies that come up from I don't know where, from within the water, right? The energies of the Orisha, Yemaya or Chon, they come up and, you know, it's like, I've been in Tambor parties on cruises and people will be coming up to me as like, I've got a message for you. Your ancestor wants you to know this, wants you to know that. You know, that happens a lot, you know, once we get on water, you know. But I think, you know, when you say why bother, I asked that question so many times, but it's like, you know, you get a jolt of energy, or I get a jolt of energy every morning to get up and do what I got to do to make that statement, you know, to provide a service, you know, for people, you know, to give them, that shows them a way out, you know, of the rat race that we're in.
I think that I just had a realization, and I think that's why you and I connect so well.
Right.
Beyond the music, beyond everything that we share in common, our own personal focus on personal improvement, being better every day. I have felt that I've always been put on this earth to be of service to people, no matter what capacity that is, whether it's my day job or whether it's bringing music to people. You know, there's times where people need to escape.
Right.
Whether it's right or wrong to escape, I'll leave that up for debate. But like, when you provide an environment for someone to be free of their bullshit. You know,
Right,
everything that happens in your day, you provide an environment for them to just release for an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, however long you go. I think that there is a sense of purpose there. That not every DJ has to have that, but I think that's why you and I connect so well.
Right, definitely.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Man.
Do you know what your life path number is?
My who?
Life path number. So everyone's got a life path number, right? Normally it's from 1 to 9, right? And a few years ago, I found out that mine was 9, right? And 9 is all about giving service to humanity and being there for people to show them a better way of life, you know, creating a path for people, you know, that leads them to, you know, love, happiness, joy, compassion, you know, and that's the job of the person who's a number 9, you know. Number 9 encompasses all the numbers before from 1 to 8, right? But number 9 is said that it's their last time here on this planet. They're going somewhere else. So I'm like, and when I heard that, I was like, yeah, I'm happy about that because I'm ready to go. You know, I'm ready to go. I don't, you know, need the accolades and all that. I'm just like, it's very draining. It's tiring, and as a number 9, it's time to go to the next.
Maybe we're both number 9s, and
maybe
we're
we
both
are
meant to travel together through the universe for the rest of our lives, man. I like to think that. That's pretty cool.
Right.
So there's obviously, we'll stop short of saying a pride in what you're doing, but say that there's obviously a sense of accomplishment in what you've accomplished in creating Tambour as an event over the last 15 years being this successful. If you had to break it down for somebody like a new promoter or somebody who really had a sense of purpose behind what they wanted to do, could you break it down for somebody in like 3 or 4 bullet points or quick points that you would say you need to focus on to make a successful event like this?
That's a good question. I think more than anything, someone said to me when I first started Tambour, it's like, you've done a really good job. You've made use of something that has no, you made something from nothing, okay? And that stuck with me for such a long time. And it was like, excuse me, how can you make something from nothing, you know? Is when you take the thought, because your thought isn't physical. Your thought exists in the ether somewhere, okay, in the mental plane. And you're taking that thought and then you're creating something physical from it. So you're making something from nothing, you know? And that's really the first thing that you've got to be able to do. You know, you've got to have the guts and the self-confidence to actually take your idea and bring it into reality so everyone else can see it and experience it, you know? And that takes guts, you know? And that's why a lot of people, you know, give up. I've seen a lot of people come with great parties and great brands, you know, but, you know, they've just fizzled out, you know, because they either burn themselves out or they give up hope in what they actually believe in, you know? And that's what you've really got to do. You've really got to put into action what your idea is, you know? And whatever anyone says about it, you keep on your path, yeah? Second is to keep planning, you know, always, you know, plan 2 years, 3 years in advance. That's what I've always done. I've always said, okay, next year I wanna be in this venue, or I wanna do a cruise, or in a couple of years I wanna do a cruise, or I wanna get so many people, or whatever. And you have goals. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't, you know. But it's a learning process. I've had so many failures. You wouldn't believe. I've had so many failures along the 15 years. But for me, even before all these sayings come out, you know, get knocked down 7, get up 8 or whatever,
Right.
before all these sayings, I was collecting data. You know, I was like, okay, that didn't work. I was like a mad, I still am really, a mad scientist. It's like, that didn't work. Okay, let me try something else. Let me tweak this. Let me put myself in people's minds to see what they see and how I can really tweak this brand and make it work, you know, and attract more people, and, you know, do something in New York, you know, and is it going to work? Yes, it's going to work because I've tested it. Do you know what I'm saying? I've got the blueprint here, right? It's going to work, and so it's about collecting data. It doesn't matter how much you fail, you know, if you truly believe in what you're doing and you're making it a reality, then it is going to work, because if you truly believe in it, that's your purpose. So many people started playing guitar when they were 18 years old, and they've stopped. They stopped when they were 25 because, there ain't no money in this. You know, I want to make real money. I want to do this, but, you know, and then later on in their life, they reflect back and it was like, you know what? That was my purpose, to play the guitar. That was my purpose, to be a carpenter or a bricklayer or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? And if you truly believe in something, that's your purpose. And people lose track of that. So again, it's just like, you know, always keep on it, make mistakes, welcome mistakes, you know, and be creative. The last point I would say, always create, always think outside of the box, always think of course, take note of what people are doing, take note of what inspires you in life. But at the same time, you have your own path, you have your own road in life. And I think the problem a lot of people do is like, oh, I want to be a party like Shelter.
Right.
And they do everything that Shelter does. And the problem is they're in going down a road that's already been, that's got a traffic jam already. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Because so many people are going down there. So many people are trying that formula to see for it to work for them, instead of being creative and saying, okay, I know what's inspired me about that path. Let me create my own path. Let me go down my own path and start being creative and trying new things and doing new things. That's going to make my own path so I can go as far down my path as possible.
I think it takes a certain level of what stuck out the most to me is the level of emotional intelligence that you have to exhibit to basically try your own stuff, you know? Yeah. And then fail at it.
Right.
And then
not
redo
care.
it and not care.
And not care. Because people say like, he's got a party and no one goes to his party, ha ha ha. Do you know what I'm saying? But that's when you don't care.
It's, you
know?
an egocentric environment a lot of times.
Right.
Because I talk about this a lot. Artists struggle for relevance all the time. Mm-hmm. And, you know, to add on top of that, the validation of being validated by people showing up to your events, that's important. Right. It can be soul crushing to someone who puts so much effort into something, and then it's
exactly.
And then it's like, it takes another level of emotional intelligence to be like, instead of saying, oh, it's because this group is doing this that I failed. Right. It's because, you know, there's people out there, there's haters, there's this and that, right? You can easily blame it on something else. Right. And just equate it to that. Or you could just say, okay, where's my shortcomings? Right. Exactly. And I think that takes a high level of emotional intelligence.
Because I wouldn't even, you know, if it rained and I had a low turnout, I wouldn't blame it on the rain. It's like, why, you know, if Michael Jackson was playing, it was rain, and he was in the open stadium, he would still have 50,000 people in there. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? So where did I go wrong? Right. You know?
Yeah, why haven't, that's...
You know, you
That's
can't,
strong.
you can't,
That's
you
strong
can't blame
advice.
it on, yeah, you can't blame it on the rain. You can't blame it on the weather. You have to, you know, look at how you're portraying, how people are receiving you. You know?
Yeah. It's very difficult to see your shortcomings and then try and fix it than it is to just say, equate it to some thing that happened,
Right.
you know, or some group that's trying to do something contrary to you. Yeah, I think, and you know, of course, it makes sense to do something that is creative, because if you are one of those people that just decides to do something that's different than other people, then you have no competition, right?
Right.
Really,
Right. Yeah.
you know.
Right. Exactly.
Who are some of the people in your life that you feel, whether you would call them mentors or inspirationalists? Somebody, who are those people that kind of inspired your musical journey, or spiritual journey, even?
A lot of people that aren't really dealing with music, because life is life.
Right.
You know, whether you want to have your own clothing company or your own music company, it's still life. You still approach it in a similar way, you know? So, you know, I look at my father and I see how he's, you know, how he started his own business and how he kept it, and he worked up to have a really amazing reputation where he didn't have to advertise for his work. You know, he was a builder. He was a, you know, self-employed builder, and so my father really has inspired me a lot. You know, as to how he navigated through life and dealing with different people and building a successful business and retiring comfortably, you know, and the jewels, the wisdom that he gave me into, you know, into things like real estate, buying real, and how important real estate is, and how important money is, and how to use money, and how to, you know, and these things were very foundational for me, you know, and my father's a very spiritual person, you know. He, you know, for years my dad's always said how he's, you know, he's protected by angels, and that he's very, you know, the angels will talk to him and protect him and show him the right things to do and save him in times of hardship and things like that. So my dad was a very spiritual person. So even that didn't make me scared of my spirituality and what I felt inside, and my being intuitive, and it allowed me to trust in myself more, you know. So that's just on a life basis. But when it comes to, I've been inspired by a lot of people. I've been inspired by Miles Davis, and a lot of the Nina Simone and James Brown, and a lot of the artists from the 50s and 60s who put their life on the line. You know, they were successful musicians worldwide, you know, millionaires, you know, and they were prepared to give up everything for what they believed in, you know, and that inspires me, you know, and they had a statement, they had something to say, and that has made me want to have something to say, and made me want to inspire other people, have impact in the world, you know, and be humble, you know, just come out in the world and just say it like they did, you know, and put their life on the line and say, you know, what's going on in the world today is wrong, you know, and I'm going to write a song about it, and it hits Billboard #1, you know, and that to me is amazing, you know, and you know, there's so many people, artists, musicians in the world today that's like what we started. They're not saying they're successful. They've got money and everything. But what are you saying? What is the music? What is the music you're producing doing for the world? Are you low vibrational or are you high vibrational? How does it affect the world?
Yeah. There's a saying not a saying, there was actually a study done about how people communicate, how they transfer their energy, however you want to look at it. And most people would think, oh, it's got to be like something like 50% or 80% just what you say. Mm-hmm. But it's more than that. Yeah. Actually, 80% of your ability to communicate, exude that energy and everything comes from just the way you carry yourself.
Right.
It's completely nonverbal.
Right.
And I think that's incredible. So to try and plug that into what you're saying, right. Just to be an inspiration.
Yeah.
Through just your actions.
Right.
Right. And you don't have to be a preacher. You don't have to post all these fun, frilly things. These really feel good stuff on your Instagram or Facebook. It's like, be the example. Right.
Exactly.
In my religion, it's the same thing. It's like, be the example because you're the only example of your belief system that some people will ever see.
Right.
So you have to take that responsibility if you want to. Yeah. You don't have to be. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of.
Yeah, it's quite funny because if you could walk up to a dog and a dog rejects you and starts barking at you and whatever because it's picking up something adverse from you, then just imagine how people feel when you're not around. When you walk up to them and they're just like, oh, I'm not sure about this guy. There's just something weird about them, and it's because a lot of people are out of alignment.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great talking to you. I want to do a rapid fire of questions.
Not too many.
Just a couple.
Yeah.
Just some fun stuff. In your opinion, the 3 most important albums everyone should listen to at least one time in their life. What do you think?
Ooh, Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life.
Oh, that's huge.
I'm such a fan of Earth, Wind and Fire. A lot of their albums are so inspirational for me, but I think the I Am album, I love the message of Gil Scott-Heron, and he did an album called Bridges that I love, and it was Leo's Sonship. I love the Sunshine, that album, and I just used to play that album over and over and over again all the time. I used to play it, and every track. There's not many. There's like 4 tracks on there. The A side is vocal, the B side is instrumental, and I just used to play it. Just switch it over and play the instrumental, and then play the vocal. It was just like, I just loved the way that they put that piece of art together. I see music as art, so yeah.
I have Earth, Wind and Fire in my top 5 all-time favorite bands.
Yeah.
And this is just bands, not individual artists, but bands.
Right.
At least number 3.
Right.
I love Earth, Wind and Fire.
Right.
Their body of work is just
right.
I mean, it's hard to pin down one album, right?
Right.
I mean, they've just got and the range, right, from your funky stuff to your jazz, like really a ton of
the
jazz
ballads,
influence, the African influence as well, the kalimba, all the things.
Yeah, the Reasons.
Yeah.
After the Love Is Gone.
Yeah.
In the Stone. It's just so much.
Countless.
Yeah.
Countless. All right, get your phone out. I want to know if you open your Spotify or your Apple Music, whatever you use, tell us the last song you listened to.
Oh, wow. I'm going to open my Spotify.
Okay.
And
I hope it's something weird. Beyonce. This ain't Texas.
Blue Lab Beats.
What's that?
Blue Lab Beats.
Blue Lab Beats.
They're a band from, what's a duet? Do you know them?
Oh yeah.
From the UK, from London. Their album, Motherland Journey.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
So much good music on there.
They've got a great body of work as well. They're incredible.
They go from broken beat
to
Afrobeat to Afrobeats to Afrobeat to jazz.
Right.
You know, on that album. It's great. I love it.
Nice. All right, last question. Your favorite record covers design. I know a lot of people have their favorite record cover. Actually, mine's a Rolling Stone record cover design. Yeah.
Okay.
The Hot Licks, the one with the zipper.
Right. Okay. right.
Yeah.
I would say going back to Earth, Wind and Fire, because before I knew about Egyptology, I would just stare at their albums.
Oh yeah.
And I would be like, oh my God, what is this? What is it about? Do you know what I'm saying? With the pyramids and so again, the I Am album with the columns of the temples and stuff, and with the sun in the background, and I just used to stare at it and just look at it and just like, wow, this is out there somewhere, you know, and for some reason I connected with it, you know, I was just connecting with it, and later on I just had such a connection with Egypt years later. Then it all started making sense, and you know, having been to Egypt and then took 200 people to Egypt on the cruise and stuff like that, it's just all come full circle.
Yeah.
So you know, I've got a lot of gratitude for Earth, Wind and Fire, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm there with you on that.
Right.
Well, I hope I've honored you today.
Yes,
in
definitely.
doing this. I know that it is an honor to be asked to do this. I value you as a friend. You're somebody that I look to as a confidant, and you know, so this has been a great experience, and it means a lot that you asked me to do this.
Thank you so much for stepping up and doing it, and you know, hit me with some awkward questions. That's what we wanted. But thank you very much. Yeah, you know, very much appreciated. Yeah.
Any closing shout outs or anything that you'd like to say?
Yeah, a special shout out to my wife, Jackie Tan, my children, my parents, family, all the people that have supported Tambour over the last 15 years. You know, I truly appreciate your love and support for being with this brand and creating it and allowing it to be the movement that it is today. Thank you very much.